of the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The family of Dr. George Tiller announced Tuesday that his Wichita clinic will be permanently closed, eliminating one of the few medical practices in the country that performed later-term abortions. In a statement, Dr. Tiller's family said, quote, "We're proud of the service and courage shown by our husband and father and know that women's health care needs have been met because of his dedication and service. That is a legacy that will never die. The family will honor Dr. Tiller's memory through private charitable activities," they said. Dr. Tiller was murdered 10 days ago during Sunday services at his Wichita church. He was 67 years old. More than 1,000 people gathered in Wichita for the funeral. The man charged with killing Dr. Tiller, Scott Roeder, told CNN that the closure of Dr. Tiller's clinic represents a, quote, "victory for the unborn and means no more needles going into babies' hearts," he said. Roeder has been charged with first-degree murder. He's also warned that more violent acts are planned against abortion providers around the country. In a phone interview from jail, Roeder told the Associated Press, quote, "I know there are many other similar events planned around the country as long as abortion remains legal," he said. On Friday, the Justice Department announced it had launched a federal investigation into Dr. Tiller's death. Meanwhile, the U.S. Marshals Service announced last week it's increasing protection for abortion providers across the country. Among those that's had U.S. Marshals assigned to protect them is Dr. Warren Hearn, one of the few remaining doctors in the country who perform later-term abortions. This week, he's begun to see some of Dr. Tiller's patients at his clinic in Boulder, Colorado. Dr. Hearn joins us now on the telephone from Boulder. We welcome you to Democracy Now!
Thank you, Amy.
First of all, condolences on the loss of Dr. Tiller, who was also your close friend.
Yes, Dr. Tiller was a wonderful man. He was a conscientious, courageous, and dedicated physician who helped tens of thousands of women and their families. This is an incredibly profound tragedy for Dr. Tiller's family, who loved him, and he was a wonderful father and grandfather, an exuberant person who loved life and made it better for a lot of other people. So this is a tremendous tragedy, and the closure of Dr. Tiller's clinic is the inevitable result of this tragedy. The Tiller family has experienced the pain of this anti-abortion harassment and terrorism and intimidation, violence for decades, and it's incredibly sad. I respect the family's decision, and it's hard for me to see how they could choose any other course. But I think that it's the glee expressed by the anti-abortion fanatics is just grotesque. It's ghoulish. These people, this is a violent terrorist movement in this country, and the American people need to understand that there's a great deal more at stake here than the activities of one doctor, of the services of one doctor. Of course, this is a great loss for women, but this means that we have a very highly organized, active, well-armed, and well-funded terrorist movement in the country that opposes the basic premises of American society. These people are opposed to constitutional democracy. They're opposed to the rule of law. They're opposed to democratic government, representative government. They're opposed to basic personal freedom. They're opposed to thought. This is a tremendous step backwards.
Dr. Warren Hearn, what about you right now in Boulder, Colorado? Obviously, you feel under siege. You have U.S. Marshals there around you?
Oh, I'm under 24-hour armed guard by U.S. Federal Marshals. The question is why? Why does a doctor who's simply helping women have to be under armed guard to protect the doctors from being assassinated by these fanatics? This is outrageous, and there aren't enough resources to protect every single doctor. I mean, this is, and I'm very grateful for the federal government's response to my situation, and to protect me and my family. But my family's terrified. Well, we can't. This can't go on. there aren't enough resources, manpower, money to protect every single doctor 24 hours a day. That's ridiculous. Just as in the 60s, you couldn't put federal marshals and federal troops around every single black person in the country. We have to have some changes in attitude. I think that the President of the United States has to go on to address the nation, but this is a crisis. This is a serious, serious crisis, and make a clear statement that hasn't been made before by any president of the United States, that women have the right to have a safe abortion, that safe abortion is a fundamental component of women's health care in this country, that doctors should not have to fear for their lives to help women, that the anti-abortion violence and terrorism has to stop. It will not be tolerated. That the people that threaten doctors and threaten women and threaten the clinic workers are terrorists, and they will be brought to justice, and they may not do these things. That the anti-abortion fanatics need to shut up and go home and leave other people alone. You know, if they don't like abortion, don't have one. I mean, it's just outrageous. This is a witch hunt atmosphere. This is an era of persecution. This is just intolerable.
Dr. Warren Hearn, your own clinic was shot at. Is that right? Was it?
Oh yeah. In 1988, there were 5 shots fired through the front of my office, and narrowly missed one of my members of my staff. I had just walked through the room. The lights were on. There were cars in the parking lot. There were people there. This was intended to kill somebody. This is an act of terrorism, and I offered a $5,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of people who did this, and the reward stands. I installed bulletproof windows. Why should we have to work behind bulletproof windows to help women? Pediatricians don't have to do that. Internists don't have to do that. I mean, this is ridiculous.
You were also put on a deadly dozen list on the web. Can you explain what that is? Well,
there was after the first 2 American doctors were assassinated in the 1993 and 1994, Dr. David Gunn, Dr. John Britton, and probably the owner of that clinic was assassinated. Well, we don't have firm information about that. But the Catholic priest who made a statement declaring that killing doctors who do abortion is justifiable homicide, organized a group, and a bunch of people signed his petition that agreed with him. And one of them was a guy named Paul Hill, who then assassinated Dr. Britton and his bodyguard. And the same group of people organized a group called the American Coalition of Life Activists, so-called. And on January 22nd, 1995, they had a press conference in Virginia and announced their hit list of the first 13 doctors they wanted eliminated. You know, the mafia has the decency to keep its hit list private. You know, the mafia is a decent, upstanding, respectable civic organization compared to the anti-abortion movement in this country. The anti-abortion movement in this country is the face of fascism in America.
Dr. Hearn,
and they announced this hit list, and I was put under federal protection along with Dr. Tiller, who was also on this list. And the Republican Congress removed the appropriations for this, pulled the money support for this, so the federal protection was dropped.
Dr. Hearn, has anyone reached out to you from the anti-abortion movement, like the Right to Life Committee?
I have nothing. I have no time to talk to these people. They've been trying to get us killed for decades. Their statements that they're dismayed about Dr. Joseph's assassinations is hypocritical nonsense. These people got exactly what they wanted. They wanted Dr. Tiller dead. They wanted Dr. Tiller's clinic closed, and they want the rest of us killed. They have made that very clear. So when they make a statement about this, you know, they have gone around demonizing doctors, vilifying doctors, all of us, in the newspapers and speeches and bloody posters, you know, calling us murderers and baby killers and so forth. And Randall Terry is unrepentant. He goes and calls Dr. Tiller a mass murderer. I mean, it's outrageous. These people, they've condemned people like Dr. James Dobson, who pretends to be a minister, who goes on national radio and vilifies Dr. Tiller and me and other people. I mean, this is just a crocodile tears. This is nonsense. These people are hypocrites, and they are dangerous terrorists.
Dr. Warren Hearn, we're going to ask you to wait for 1 minute. We're going to go to a break, then we're going to come back, and we're also going to speak with a genetic counselor who's critic of her own organization for not issuing a condemnation of the murder of Dr. Tiller. We're also going to hear from Congress members. Yesterday, the House of Representatives passed a resolution condemning Dr. Tiller's death. This is Democracy Now! Back in a minute.